Alright, you probably clicked on this video because you're curious, you don't know what this no silver bullet thing is, and probably want an explanation, a fast explanation about what it is, how this no silver bullet thing affects you, and yeah, it's get ready to get geeky. Every time I'm doing one of my harmful writing advice videos, or right now when I was scripting my next toxic author video script, I address this thing, the no silver bullet, and I always cut it out because I don't want to go into a 10-minute segue about what this means. I thought maybe I should do a separate video about this. Well, the expression "there is no silver bullet" comes from a paper on software engineering by Frederick Brooks. It was written in 1986. The title is "No Silver Bullet, Essence and Accident in Software Engineering." There's a link for the paper below if you're the geeky sort and you want to read this, but can get complicated if you're unfamiliar with software engineering and its principles. And many of my audience are authors, and you probably wonder, how the hell does a paper on software engineering applies to my writing? If you're interested to know, please tag along. There will be an explanation on how the no silver bullet principle affects your life and your writing by the end of this video. Frederick Brooks, in his paper, writes that there is no single development in either technology or management technique which by itself promises even one order of magnitude improvement within a decade in productivity, in reliability, in simplicity. Which in human speech means that if you have a complex project or a complex problem to solve, there is no one solution that can make your work on it 10 times easier or faster or better, or it cannot solve this problem by 90% on its own. And this is because of the nature of complexity, of complex problems. Okay, let's be honest, writing a novel is a complex problem on its own. It involves a lot of different phases of work: plotting, drafting, editing, publishing, and there are many factors involved. Many other people are involved too, and its phase has different challenges, different goals, and sometimes these goals are opposing one another. And if you get to some real world problems, then it gets very complicated. There are two types of complexity. We have accidental complexity, meaning that we're human and we screw up and we create problems on our own. And then there is essential complexity, which means that on its own the project or the problem we want to solve has many factors in it, and they have to be computed and addressed separately and together. The bigger the project or the problem, the more the factors and the more things must be done concurrently. So no matter how well organized you get, this complexity exists and it doesn't diminish. And no matter how much effort you put, how many resources you put in a problem or a project, the complexity kind of increases, believe it or not. But that's another paper by Fred Brooks, The Mythical Man-Month. So how does this no silver bullet comes along? Let me show you. Hope you can read this. So in the introduction he says that of all the monsters who fill the nightmares of our folklore, none terrify more than werewolves, because they transform unexpectedly from the familiar into horrors. For this we seek bullets of silver that can magically lay them to rest. And he continues. The familiar software project has something of this character, at least as seen by the non-technical manager, usually innocent and straightforward, but capable of becoming a monster of missed schedules, blown budgets and flawed products. And I should add, if you've written a novel, you know that this happens to novels too. So we hear desperate cries for a silver bullet, something to make software costs drop as rapidly as computer hardware costs. And it gets into a lot of software engineering specific stuff, and I won't talk about them at the moment because they're a bit out of our scope. But this expression, no silver bullet, has come to mean something very specific in a lot of disciplines, not only software engineering, but also sociology, STEM engineering, medicine, every science that has to deal with the complex problems. It means that there is no simple solution that can fix a complex problem. And here comes the silver bullet trap that the title suggests. People, we're lazy, right? Let's be fair, we're lazy. We want the simplest answer for any problem. We want simple solutions. We won't follow the path of least resistance. That's why the idea of a silver bullet, of one magical solution that fixes everything, is so appealing to us. It's ideal. And if we're told that do this one simple thing and 90% of your problems will go away, or you'll manage to do 10 times more work, we want this. I mean, even doubling the effect, getting double the work done, or half of the problem is very appealing to us, and we would jump for it. And we want this, we want to know what this is. But reality is a bitch, and this one simple solution to a complex problem doesn't work. And everybody, deep down, everybody knows that. However, there are people who will appeal to this silver bullet, to these one magical solutions. Politicians will often say you do this one thing and you solve everything. And marketers often tell you that there is one magic solution for everything, and reporters often either show one problem that causes everything, or that there is one magical solution for everything. And these people, they do that because they want your vote, they want your money, they want your clicks, they want your attention. And just by promising a silver bullet, they get your attention, they get hope out of you. But let's be honest, if somebody promises you one simple solution for a complex problem, they lie. And deep down, you know that. Just think about it. When was the last time you were promised one simple thing that can fix everything and it worked? Now think how many times it didn't. Good. Why does this happen? Why there is no one simple solution for a complex problem? Well, we'll have to go geeky again, and we have to talk about system dynamics. System dynamics is a tool, is a methodology by which we take complex problems and analyze them. And let me show you an example of a system dynamics diagram. Found this on the internet, and it's about food availability in Colombia, I think. Not sure about what exactly it is. But here we have analysis of food availability and how it is affected by price, food production, and population. As you can see, there are a lot of factors involved. Some of the factors have a positive effect on other factors, meaning, for instance, if we increase the land we use for agriculture, food production would also increase. There's a positive relationship. Or maybe let's get the population. If you have an increase in birth rate, you have an increase in population. However, we have an increase in death rate, we have a decrease in population. So we have a positive impact and negative impact. And this is expressed by a plus or a minus. So you can see that, for instance, if you have a higher population, we have more deaths and also more births. And in real life problems, we have a lot of factors that influence a specific aspect of the system. And if we want to change this aspect, we have to also take in mind that some of the factors affecting it also affect other factors that affect our specific instance, either directly or indirectly. And at the same time, the aspect we want to change may also influence the factors affecting it. And this creates some loops, either control loops or positive loops, reinforcing loops. So if we introduce a change to a system, it has ripple effects. For instance, in our example on food availability, let's say that people have not enough food, so we will decrease the price of food. And that's a change we'll have to make. If we decrease the price, then food production will also decrease, because there's a positive relationship. If the price is lower, fewer people have an incentive to produce food because it's not as economically viable for them. And this decrease in food production would lead in decrease in food availability that will create an inflation of price, meaning that if we introduce a price decrease, over time it will be nullified by this loop. However, if we want to increase food production, we can increase land agriculture. This is very weirdly stated. The land used for agriculture. This will increase the food production, it will increase food availability, and will lead to a decrease in price, but also increased full food sufficiency, which will decrease death rate, which lead to population increase, which means that more people will be born, the population will increase, and we'll have more labor force, so more food produced, but at the same time it will decrease food availability. So you see that every change we introduce to a complex system, to a complex problem, lots of things change. Actually affecting long-term change by changing one thing is very hard, because systems are working in their own way. Just look at this diagram and you start to understand how complicated it is. And okay, another part of system dynamics is that you run simulations of change, but we won't get that geeky. I mean, I'm a geek, but you're not, so I won't tire you with this stuff anymore. However, because we talk about some real-world problems here and they're very complex, you know the effects of it. I mean, you go into social media and you talk about a complex real-world issue. You know what happens then? You say X is very important and we must do Y to make it better, and somebody will crop up in the comments and say, but what about Z? Either benevolently or, sea-lining, because they want to argue with you and make your point moot. And of course, you've seen, you're in YouTube, you've seen these videos when you have these very long disclaimers at the beginning of any video. By saying that, I don't mean X, Y, and Z, and the disclaimer is sometimes longer than the video. And that's because we have some complex issues to deal with, and you get a lot of factors in there too, so you don't have to be misconstrued. And of course, there's always somebody who will get offended, because this is the internet, and the internet is not for porn anymore, it's for outrage. And to be honest, yes, you should be outraged about some things, like what's happening right now in the US. Okay, there's no reason to gaslight the fact that somebody was brutally killed by police officers and that people of color in the US are disproportionately killed by the police. These are real world issues and they're very complex issues. Alright, that was my disclaimer. I think we're adults, and if you watch this video for this long, yes, you're adults, you understand that, and fuck police brutality, okay? Good. So, does this mean that a simple improvement or a change is moot? No way. No, that's not what I said. However, there is no one magical solution. For instance, if you have a complex project and you want to improve it, to improve your performance, to get better at solving it, or solving similar problems, you can use a number of metrics. You can split your performance into different metrics. For instance, if you're writing a novel, you can have daily word count, quality of the manuscript, and plot points covered and themes covered. There are some good metrics, so you can work on increasing one metric at a time. I mean, if you want to, you can spend a week increasing your daily word count. You don't focus on quality, you don't focus on themes, you don't focus on plot points, you just try to write as much as you can. And after you increase your word count, you try to write better words. You try to cover more plot points. Maybe you do that in different phases, like you draft sloppily but very fast, you do more editing and try to fix things in editing. And maybe do some restructuring of your novel to fix stuff. And you can focus on one thing and improve it. And over time, it improves everything if you do this. Because you learn to work better for different goals. And even if, for instance, okay, you do a word count sprint and you get 3 times the words you normally write, but they're twice as bad as they used to be, and they require double time for editing, still it's a positive win, because you spend one day for 3 days of writing, but then you spend 2 days of editing instead of one. It's you go for 4 days, from 4 days to 2 days of work. It's an improvement, right? So yes, focusing on one change at a time is a good idea for fixing performance. You can also introduce one complex solution or a system to your project, because one simple solution cannot solve complex problems. However, if you take a ready solution, solution tailored for this kind of problem, and apply it, which is a system, then with one change you change a lot of factors at the same time. And most of the gurus out there, most of the books about problem solving, they introduce a system, not one simple solution. On the first level, they'll offer you one simple solution that will become a system. And if you go further down this rabbit hole, you'll see that this system may or may not work. Okay? But reducing a system, a complex solution to a complex problem, can actually be effective. Then we have to deal with the 80-20 rule, because some changes will bring a stronger effect than other changes. So if you have a project that is manageable and you change one thing, it can be much more effective than changing 3 other things. The reason why I'm doing harmful writing advice is because this advice are the things that have major impact, but if they're used as silver bullets, as one advice to fix everything, they don't work. Okay? So what Fred Brooks says about solutions for reducing complexity and how they apply to your novel. Some people would downvote me for these solutions, but never mind that. So Fred Brooks says that you should exploit the mass market to avoid constructing what can be bought, meaning that authors can buy what they need. For instance, get some writing software that can do plotting and writing and editing in one go, or buy service of people who can do this job better, for instance, making you cover, do some editing, etc. Using rapid prototyping as part of a planned iteration, establishing software requirements. That means that you have to have a plot, a plan, before you start writing, so you will know what should go anywhere. And here comes downvotes. People claim that plotting is much more efficient for reducing complexity, but I mean, some people pants, and that's okay. Grow software organically, meaning that your novel, your manuscript should grow in increments, meaning you write it scene by scene, chapter by chapter, storyline by storyline. And finally, you should develop good practices for your writing. Alright, that was today's video. I hope it was not too hard to follow, because we had to deal with some very complex ideas and some pretty advanced stuff that were maybe out of people's preview. And we had to deal with some big stuff like real world problems, complexity, how there is no magic solutions for everything. That's what we as writers create for readers, because our readers love the idea of a magical solution, and good escapism means that we should offer that. People love a magical solution, so yes, work on silver bullets for your novels. That's what people are here for, and they love to see that everything is fixed in one simple way, even if everything else went over your head. Use that for your novels. Don't use that for real life, because it's scummy. And I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching.